let's talk about your self-introduction. A self-introduction is called 自己紹介 in Japanese. But what if you're asked to do one in English? That's what this show is about on today's episode of the Social English Podcast. Hikari, kick it off.
皆さんこんにちは。毎日少しずつ社交に使える英語の上達を目指すソーシャルイングリッシュポッドキャストへようこそ。今日はぜひもっと自信を持って英会話してみましょう。Are you ready, Percy? Let's go!
Of course I'm ready, and I am so pumped up for today's episode. In today's episode of the show, guess what, everyone? We're going to do something very interesting. We're going to do a social English repair shop where we're going to fix the English of someone who asked me to in one of their dialogues that they wrote so they can speak English correctly and express themselves. So that's what we're going to do in today's episode of the Social English Podcast. Now, if this is the first time you've been to this podcast, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. If you're a returning listener, thank you for showing up again. And I know that you are getting value out of this podcast, and I enjoy doing it for you. Please help me out and help the show out by donating 500 yen to $5 US to our Patreon page. So let's go ahead and set the mood of starting off with the show. What I want you to do is I want you to relax and enjoy listening to my voice and listening to the Social English Podcast. Picture yourself at a cafe with me, Percy, your American friend. We're just having coffee. I'm having maybe a caramel macchiato today, something a little bit different. You're having maybe just a latte. And we're having some snacks, maybe a croissant, maybe a cookie, something like that. And you've asked me to join you so we can talk about English so I can help you improve and get better. Yes, that is our goal. So today, we're going to have another round of our Social English Repair Shop where a friend of mine and listener has asked me to fix his English. Okay, so first, let's talk about what is this about? What are we talking about? Okay, this is a self-introduction. 自己紹介. Self-introduction. In English, 自己紹介 in Japanese. Now, let's first talk about his English passage. I will give you his English passage. Then I will give you the social English version. And then I want to talk a little bit about social English in regards to a 自己紹介 self-introduction. Okay, so first, let's give you the Japanese learner of English. So let's listen carefully to his passage. This is self-introduction, which I will post online teaching platform. This is self-introduction, which I will post online teaching platform. Okay, so do you hear any problems already? Yes. Now, this particular Japanese learner of English is taking an English course. His goal is he wants to teach English in the future. And one class activity, he has to make a jiko shokai in English. So he wants to first talk about what it is. So first, let's fix his passage with correct English, social English. Okay, first, we will use 2 short sentences. Okay, let's start. This is my self-introduction. This is my self-introduction. I plan to post it on an online teaching platform. I plan to post it on an online teaching platform. Okay. So that is it. Those are the 2 sentences that are the correct social English version. Now, next, what I want to do is I will say both of these sentences together at regular speed. Please listen, kite kudasai. This is my self-introduction. I plan to post it on an online teaching platform. This is my self-introduction. I plan to post it on an online teaching platform. Okay. Now, note 2 sentences were used. Also, if I spoke too fast, you can always play it back at slower speeds, 0.5 speed. Okay, next, social English. About jiko shokai, self-introduction. In America and Canada, or most English-speaking countries, a self-introduction is not a formal occasion. A self-introduction usually only happens when 2 people are talking, or maybe a small group. But it isn't a formal event like in Japan. So, if someone asks you while you are learning English in a university course or a high school course even, about introducing yourself with a jiko shokai in English, please remember that when you speak to someone in America, or if you go to a foreign country such as America, Canada, the UK, New Zealand, Australia, something like this, this is not common. This is not common, and you don't need to worry about it. So please relax. Okay, so that's all for today's social English episode where we corrected the English of a listener to our show. What I want to do is now thank you for joining me for today's episode. I hope you did learn something today, and I really hope you get a chance to visit us at realsocialenglish.com and get your free download the 7 mistakes most Japanese learners of English make and how to fix them. You can also find more resources there. Also, please subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora, and Stitcher. Please become a patron. Help the show by donating $5 American to keep the show going. I will thank you in a future episode. Go there at Patreon. That's patreon.com/social English. You can also get materials there and exclusive things that we do not post anywhere else. Okay? Don't forget to share our podcast on your social media. Share us on Line, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I will see you next time. Hikari, please take us away.
今日は楽しい時間をありがとうございました。ぜひ私たちのウェブサイト realsocialenglish.com を訪問して日本語訳と役立つ情報を手に入れてください。また次回お会いしましょう。バイバイ。See you next time. Bye bye.